guys, Mickey of Knob Cartel, back with another beer review. So I'm going to review another one of the Nomad limited releases. Third of the series of the Powder Days. First one was the double chocolate coconut milk stout. Second one was the double chocolate coconut milk stout with a cherry on top. And their third addition to the series is their Powder Day salted caramel double milk stout. So keeping with the theme, it's pretty much got the same label, different colour. Each label has been a different colour. 2.78 standard drinks, 440ml can, 8% alcohol. Can statement goes, the Nomad team are enjoying their Powder Days too much to stop the season, so we're rolling out one more, just one more. Hopefully they change that and they go with something a little bit go with some more of the series, because I'm really enjoying them. Number two had mixed reviews. Not a lot of people liked the cherry on top due to the fact that it had some say a medicine type flavour, others say it was more of an artificial, very sort of what can I say, pretty much artificial sort of cherry flavour. I sort of got that, but then I thought that maybe it was the introduction of a certain type of ingredient, the way they used it and processed that sort of cherry that gave it that flavour, but I still did really enjoy that second one. So it says, as the end of the season melt begins, it brings with its rigorous salted caramel to cover the slopes in your taste buds, packed with chocolate malt flavours combined with sea salt and caramel to bring you a delicious dessert in a can. Ingredients: water, malted barley, malted wheat, lactose, sugar, sea salt, caramel, hops and yeast. True independent craft beer coming from Nomad Brewing Company. Very much mixed reviews for the whole line of Nomad beers, pretty much the core range. The Gozers, a few other, their salt and pepper squid beer, Budgie Smuggler. There's quite an extensive range coming out of Nomad. They do bring out a fair few beers and quite consecutively are consistent with their brewing, so that's a good thing too. And the fact that this has been really consistent as well. We're probably 2 years heading into 3 years now. Well, probably not even 3 years, I reckon just 2 years, and they've already brung out the third in this series. I'm hoping they're not just going to stop with this one. They switch it up and do something else. We really like to see a few other different varieties of this beer coming through, and really showcasing and continuing on. It has been quite popular. It's been looked forward to each time it's come around, and it's still call it hype, but for me it still travels well within the media system. Social media travels quite well, and these guys are doing great things when it comes to that. Yep, straight up getting caramel on the nose from the can, slight salt. This one's disguising the background of the stout quite well, pouring quite thick. Don't expect much of a head on this one, considering it's got adjunct that's not going to perform or be kind to the pour or the beer itself in any sort of way. Very spritzy, very effervescency, so that head's going to die off quite quickly. Expect that. I found that with particularly my version of the Powder Day double chocolate coconut milk stout. When it came off the keg out of tap, off my system here, poured very good, and the head was long lasting. Hasn't completely died off there, very quick to run away, but it's very dark. It's laced. Does remind me of salted caramel's very much there. It's very candy like. Let's do this. Has been warming for quite a while. Still a little bit cool, so allow it to warm up even more. Now, I have to be brutally honest and say I am really enjoying the fact that they keep bringing this. What makes me loyal to the Powder Day series is that number one being the double chocolate coconut milk stout was that I brewed very uh, 3, 4 different varieties or variants of that particular recipe, and um, each time I'd done it, I'd just changed one ingredient, one element, one way I brewed that particular beer. Would be the amount of coconut added to it, the amount of lactose, the way I stepped up additions in particular, um, hop additions, changed it from one to another to try and get it to balance well. Um, Keeping in with the theme, that majority of the um, milk stouts, the imperial milk stouts, the bases that I was using all tend to have the same, all tended to have the same hop addition, and there was no late additions up. It was all at the top end. At the beginning, and it was more, like your Haluadu middle through, or traditional how middle throughs. There was one of the recipes use a different type of hop as well. Pretty much the same sort of descriptor as the how middle through, but slightly more fruity. Slightly more sort of spice to it as well. Can't remember that one off the top of my head, but I did dramatically change the way that particular beer worked, and just changing one element at a time, and finally getting to the point where I was quite happy with the recipe. Got the recipe written down, and it is more of an imperial, more of a banger of a beer than what the original from Nomad is, but that's my own spin. It's something I wanted to, not to go out and try and make it exactly the same. Just my version of my coconut double chocolate milk stout, rough nut, we affectionately called it. So back to the salted caramel. It is a sipper for me. I think I couldn't have more than probably one in a turn. Whereas the original version with the coconut double chocolate, I could just keep as I did when I mentioned I went at the Lambton Botlow Beer Festival. I just kept going back to that beer, so I probably like I could have turned my whole 20-card drink into just Powder Day because I was so in love with that particular beer. It strayed far from that original beer, but in saying that, like I said, I still enjoyed the second version with the cherry on top, and I'm really enjoying this salted caramel one too. And for me, like I mentioned, it's just a love from the beginning. Then I can remain. I can say good things about each particular beer that comes out. For, like I mentioned, for some, it's just not hitting the mark in the ways that the first one did, and the first one did. It had so much hype, and it had so much drive behind it, had so much following, and everyone that sort of jumped on remained on. If that particular beer was to come back around again, would it fail me as a diehard, or would fail anyone else who really enjoyed it the first time round because we've had better beers since? That's the question that remains, and that's the evolution. You evolve, how much craft beer evolves over the time that we consume. Every time we turn around, something gets better. Someone does something a bit different. Someone puts out something that's very much the same but tastes even better. If we were to all have it, every brewery to come out side by side and place these beers in front of us, and they all had the base recipe but different additions and the way they added their additions, I think it'd make a much more fun, interesting and more enjoyable experience. But Nomad Powder Day Salted Caramel Double Milk Stout, that's a yes for me as well. I do really prefer the first version over the second and third, but in saying that, Powder Day fanboy from start to finish. Cheers.